Hi everyone, welcome back. Thanks for joining me. Let's make a French omelette. Now, a French omelette is very different from an American omelette. So if you've been to hotel restaurants with open buffets and they have an omelette station, you'll notice how they make the omelette, and it's just how they've learned or they've taught to cook them and teach them is you'll pick your toppings, they'll throw them in the pan with some oil, they'll cook the toppings, then they'll throw the egg batter in, sort of mix it around and fold it in a crescent half moon shape and then serve it to you. It's typically very, very thick, typically, not well measured, and it's okay, but I find it to be a little bit dry on the inside, and it's probably because they overcook it for safety so they don't get sued. But we're gonna make a French omelet. A French omelet is very different. A French omelet looks like an enchilada in a way, folded enchilada, right? And it typically has one or two sort of ingredients inside. Cheese is typically one, and sometimes you'll put in some ham or something like that, but typically it's just cheese or plain, right? And it's very, very fluffy, and it's very, very succulent and nice. Now, I'm gonna break a couple of the rules that I shared with you on previous eggs episodes, which is, one, eggs, the slower they cook, the longer they cook, the more flavorful they become. So we always cook scrambled or fried eggs on very low heat so that it gives the eggs enough time to develop its flavors. So that's the first rule we're gonna break, which is, actually I'm only gonna break one rule, which is that. Omelets, though, are the exception. You cook omelets on very high heat, and you cook them very quickly, and they take less than 30 seconds to cook, right? So that's going to be the biggest rule that we break. And that's it. So ingredients: egg, homemade butter. I made it the other day. Watch the homemade butter episode. It's a fantastic episode to watch and super easy to make. I've got some grated Parmesan because I don't have what the French would typically use, which is Emmentaler cheese. If I did, I would be using that, but I don't, so I'm going to use a little bit of Parmesan. That's what I have, and it's just really for demo purposes. I typically wouldn't put that in eggs because it's too salty. Emmentaler is less salty. And then chopped parsley, but I don't have chopped parsley because we just got the snowmageddon here in DC, and our parsley's probably dead outside or buried in 3 feet of snow and ice now. So I've just kind of chopped up some green onions that I'm just gonna garnish it with at the end. I've got one egg because I've got an 8-inch pan, and you want to use as little eggs as possible because you want the egg, once you drop it in your pan, you want it to be completely flat in the pan. So anything bigger than an 8-inch skillet, if you're using 10 or 12, fine, you can use 2 eggs. But I would, you don't want to be, what you don't want to do is keep moving the eggs around for the omelet so you can get all the liquid to cook. You want it to just kind of lay flat, swirl it around, and that's it. So you'll see that when we film that. And that's it. So let's get going. I'm going to not break my rule, but I did mention before that I do need to pause this so I can zoom in for you. So change your camera position, zoom in so you can see what I'm doing, and we'll get going from there. So I'll be right back. All right, welcome back. Let's get going. So I've got my one egg here, right? I'm just gonna beat it lightly, and that's all I really need to do to the egg. Just enough to mix the whites and the yolks, right? And then I need a spatula, which I did not put out. We've got our homemade butter. So we're gonna take the homemade butter, drop it into a non-stick pan, ceramic. Watch the cookware episodes. So if you have Tefal, Teflon based skillet, non-stick skillets, please get rid of them. They are highly, highly, highly carcinogenic and not safe at all to cook with. So please get rid of those. But I've got a ceramic non-stick pan. I think I picked this one up at Crate and Barrel, but you can pretty much find them anywhere. I mean, TJ Maxx, Home Goods will have them. There's also another episode that I shot where you can make eggs in a sticky stainless steel skillet. and it's not that difficult. It does take a little bit of trial and error, but it's not that difficult to do. So if you don't have nonstick and you want to use that, that's fine. Just follow the instructions. All right, so eggs are nice and bubbling, right? And I'm gonna just go ahead and drop my egg. The butter is nice and bubbling. Drop the egg in here. So notice immediately that the egg pretty much covers most of this pan. So I'm just gonna swirl it around, sort of to get an even layer and cook it. I wanna keep that nice circular shape, if you may. So to the extent, I'm not gonna be able to, so here we go. I don't really wanna fold too much, and you'll see why here in a minute. But this is pretty much done. See how quickly that was, right? It is a little bit liquidy on the inside, and that's fine. But once the egg, if you tilt it and there's no more liquid that can come through, then you're done, right? So that's it. So then take your parm or your Emmentaler and perpendicular to the handle, just put it right in the middle in kind of a straight line, right? I need a plate. One more. And then what you do is from the handle side, fold it in thirds, like that, and then grab your handle sort of like a dagger, upside down, and flip. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this actually. You're supposed to be able to hold it down and sort of flip it on itself, which that didn't happen very well. But you're supposed to be able to flip it onto itself, and it comes out on the plate like so, right? Didn't turn out that well for me, but with some practice, I think you can. Do it. And I'm just going to garnish this with a little bit of onions, and that's it. That's what we have. So that's what a French omelet looks like. It's very, very succulent. I'm going to try and taste it now. But it's really kind of succulent. It's nice and soft on the inside. And I'm glad I didn't put salt, because when you taste the parm is typically salty. If your egg requires a little bit more salt, just, take some salt and add it at the end. But don't put it in the batter, because you might run the risk of it being too salty, right? So that's it. Make your omelet, and it's beautiful. Enjoy. Please like and subscribe, and we'll see you again soon.